Genuine Ford and Motorcraft chassis and suspension parts offer advantages over most competitive aftermarket products. Let's look at a vehicle's chassis and suspension. First is the shock absorber that minimizes spring bounce and keeps the wheel in contact with the road. In very common use is the McPherson strut, a space-saving unit made up of a shock absorber and coil spring assembly. This unit links the suspension to the chassis and allows the front wheels to turn side by side. The ball joint serves as a pivot for the wheel assembly and allows the wheels to turn in the direction the vehicle is steered. The coil spring supports the weight of the vehicle and maintains ride height. The stabilizer bar, as well as the stabilizer bar link, helps reduce body lean when cornering. The most obvious competitive advantage for Motorcraft parts is that Ford approves the design of all chassis parts. No other manufacturer can make that claim. Competitors are forced to take our parts, break them down, and re-engineer them, guessing at what the specifications are. Here's Dave Abbott, Chassis Product Manager, to talk about some problems he's seen on the competition.
In the last couple of years, we've seen some parts come in from overseas that have been consolidated in terms of design. What we've seen is that, for instance, with the tie rods, they may have too much or too little stud swing, and that could cause either a lockup or a pull-out situation. Both could be catastrophic in that you lose the ability to steer the vehicle.
Clearly, for parts that determine how well a vehicle rides and handles, any variance in specifications can make a big difference. Another big advantage is that Ford engineering-approved parts are designed for specific vehicle applications, a critical benefit when it comes to matching the ride and handling characteristics originally designed into the vehicle. Some aftermarket competitors, with their one-size-fits-all approach, can't match this precision fit. This leads to another benefit. Our parts can be easier to install in Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury vehicles. A shop technician doesn't have to waste valuable time adjusting and modifying just so the part fits. Motorcraft chassis and suspension parts also benefit from ongoing updates and enhancements due to Ford's continuous product improvement research. Motorcraft parts also have wide availability for all Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury vehicles on the road today. That's a depth of product line that few, if any, aftermarket competitors can match. Now let's look at some specific advantages of Motorcraft chassis and suspension parts. First, shock absorbers. Motorcraft offers a wide variety of shocks to cover all Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury products, as well as special applications. This gas-charged shock is original equipment on many Ford vehicles. It utilizes inert nitrogen gas to pressurize the hydraulic fluid and reduce aeration or foaming for improved ride control. It also improves handling, particularly on dirt roads. This spring assist shock performs dual functions of shock and vibration control, plus load carrying and leveling, and is available for front and rear applications. On some applications, the electric adjustable shock is part of today's computer-managed suspension systems that can change from a soft to firm damping rate in milliseconds based on inputs from sensors in the brakes, suspension, and engine. The heavy-duty shock is specially calibrated and valved to deliver excellent stability and ride comfort. These shocks help suspension resist vehicle sway on curves and sharp turns, and they're available for most cars, light trucks, and vans. The extra heavy-duty shock has a piston rod, firm valving, and extra fluid capacity to provide maximum stability and control. It combines premium ride characteristics with extra size and strength for good control and handling, and is available for most cars, light trucks, and vans. Other genuine Ford and Motorcraft chassis and suspension parts also offer advantages. Here's Dave Abbott to discuss Motorcraft's ball joint design.
The Motorcraft ball joints, the material inside the Motorcraft ball joint, for instance, we have the full ball stud with a polymer bearing, so it's an OE style, whereas the competition may use a composite ball stud. And the advantage of the full ball stud versus the composite ball stud is the full ball stud is what we call concentric, which means it has a common center point. And this allows the steering to be smooth back and forth. When you have a composite ball stud, you have dual hemispheres, and that can cause uneven returnability and premature wear.
Motorcraft ball joints also have a special feature that makes them very easy to install.
One key advantage of the Motorcraft ball joint is that it has a unique aftermarket feature in that the press diameter is approximately 3 to 4 thousandths of an inch larger than the OE press diameter. And this is important because when a technician takes the OE ball joint out of a control arm and attempts to press the OE style ball joint back into the control arm, there can be looseness because in the process of taking the old ball joint out, some of the material from the control arm comes out in the process. So what you have is an enlarged control arm hole. So with the Motorcraft ball joint, because it's slightly larger, will press into the control arm snug the way it should be.
When it comes to installation, Motorcraft ball joint kits include all fastening hardware for one simplified means of attachment. The sealed tie rod boot includes directional grease escapement to ensure a contamination-free joint. And the ball joint only cartridges eliminate unnecessary replacement of the entire control arm assemblies on some applications. Ease of maintenance is a big selling point for many Motorcraft chassis and suspension parts. Let's hear again from Dave Abbott to understand how Motorcraft plans ahead for maintenance on sway bar links.
A key aftermarket feature with the socket-style sway bar links is that there is a wrench flat at the bottom of the stud. And this allows the technician to grab hold of the stud on the wrench flat and back off the nut with an impact gun. Now, in areas where you have a lot of corrosion, when they attempt to back off the nut, if they don't hold that stud in place, that nut and stud can swing and spin, and when that stud spins inside the housing, you can burn up the housing. So with the wrench flat offered by Motorcraft, you're allowed to keep that stud in place while backing off the nut.
As you've heard, Motorcraft works hard to offer parts that make the technician's job easier, reduce repeat repairs, and ensure customer satisfaction. Knowing which parts are needed in a repair requires good diagnostic skills and asking the right questions. Does the vehicle bounce or lean excessively, which could mean the shocks and/or springs need to be replaced? Is there fluid seepage around the shock or strut, which could indicate the seals need to be replaced? Or does the vehicle bottom out when traveling over bumps, which could also mean the shocks and springs need to be replaced? Stringent Ford Motor Company specifications, applications built specifically for each vehicle, advanced designs, and competitive pricing spell the Motorcraft value story on chassis and suspension parts.